Hi everyone, it's Sunday, September 27th, 2020, 8 p.m. I have a letter here from Amy Gonzalez, the nurse in Texas who's got life without parole and she didn't hurt anybody. It's dated 9/22/20. It says, "Hi Aaron and friends, I am still alive, hooray, but unfortunately still incarcerated at Carswell. I have been dying to call you guys to hear your always cheerful voices, but my minutes ran out and I can't revalidate to get my minutes back for the phone until 9/28, which is tomorrow. I've been with no phone since Saturday. When I made my last phone call home, see, the phone does work. So much better for me in this unit than I ran out of my minutes pretty quick. I must have just been so happy to hear family or friendly voices. LOL. Now that I'm back in the unit with all of my legal papers, I have started to send this packet out to senators, attorneys, etc. I sent a copy to President Trump and Jared Kushner yesterday. The reason I am sending you a copy is to ask if you would please mail these out along with the business card with my picture on it. It's good to see a face with the name. I was going to send the envelopes pre-addressed with the stamp, so all you would have to do is pop the card in and mail it. But I don't know if that's allowed or not. So along with everything else, I owe you 2 stamps. LOL. It just gets exhausting when you ask a question and get all kinds of different answers. So she doesn't know if she's allowed to send postage paid stamped envelopes for us to forward this legal packet. But you know what? I think Rudy's probably going to scan it and upload it to Amy's Dropbox. And then what I would do is encourage anybody who has a heart that cares about Amy Gonzalez to print off a copy of your own and mail it to whoever you think might be able to help Amy. Carrying on here, David said that that's her brother, said he's getting out of his cell a little longer and is hoping to be able to get back outside to get some sun and fresh air again soon. We are going to start going outside for fresh air 3 times per week for an hour each time. Lord knows that we need it. It's funny how we take things for granted like sun and fresh air, and then when you don't have it anymore, you rave it, you crave it with everything in you. I was so desperate to go outside that they were offering a class on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., HIIT, high intensity interval training or extreme fitness. I think it was finally called extreme fitness according to the paperwork, but you can only imagine just by the name that this was more like 20-year-olds boot camp for the military. Well, I am 48 years old. I did every exercise, and then when I just couldn't physically take it anymore, I modified what I couldn't do. It would have been a hysterical YouTube video if the officers decided to record it and post it. Something me. Rest me. Trust me. Yeah. I know what she's saying. So, I was supposed to get up for church on Sunday for a service where a few units were able to go worship together. God forgive me, but I hurt so bad that I needed a crane to get me out of that bed. LOL. God's temple took one for the team that day. I made sure that I stretched again yesterday, and I'm finally just starting to feel like I can walk without whining. I have used muscles that I didn't even remember learning about in nursing school. LOL. We are supposed to go outside to walk the track tonight, so hopefully it won't rain. I need to get back my physical endurance because I did feel that with all of the lockdowns, and this virus has drained my energy. With our 2255 motions, we put in the motion to the court to respond, so we are just waiting to see if the court has received the motion. Dennis, the paralegal, has been keeping a close eye on the docket for us. He is truly a godsend, just like both of you. I am so grateful to meet such amazing people through this terrible tragedy. This is one good thing that has come out of this. And yeah, the silver lining. I know about that. If there is no response from the district court with our 2255 motion by June 2021, then we can motion the appeal court. I sure pray that we don't have to go all that. And we can finally get some justice, because I am beyond exhausted. I've just never felt more insignificant or worthless in my entire life. I am used to being a very productive part of society, and when I look around, all this teaches you is to be lazy. I even learned the other day how people smuggle drugs into prison by waiting to use the phone. Oh my God, you can't even imagine the things you hear and how normal it is for them. It completely blew my mind. I am so naive. I am so ready to get home to my little bubble of the world where I never heard anything about things like this. It is an entirely different culture for me. I am definitely not saying that I am better than anyone. Far from it. I just don't understand their world. I don't even understand the language and terms they say. I was trying to explain this to Juan, and he laughed because he understood what I meant. It's like a whole new texting language with letters missing, etc. Yep. No comment. I heard that my friend Gail, that was contacting senators on my behalf as well, came home from the hospital after her stroke. She's supposed to be starting speech therapy. I hear that she is doing well, though. Thank God and his healing hands. It seems that everyone that is released from prison has way more medical issues when they get out than when they came in. My other friend, Donna, found out that she has fluid around her heart, and that was picked up during one of her pacemaker checks. She was constantly coughing like she had fluid on her lungs or around her heart. I even told her that. The medical care is terrible. I just pray every day to make it out of here and make it out alive. I'm not looking forward to any end where of this virus. My other friend, Rebecca, hired a lawyer and got her civil rights back. She is headed to register to vote. I'm so proud of her. I told her to keep me informed what other rights she gets restored, because education is the key. I told her to please ask her lawyer about restoration of nursing licenses, or if that is strictly the nursing ward. Can't hurt to ask. Rebecca said that in 40 years he has never had anyone ask for their civil rights to be restored. He gladly granted it and shook her hand. This is good information to know. I heard on the news that they are going to have some limited visiting with the nursing homes in Texas. I pray that you will be able to see and hug your mother-in-law. You all need that human contact. Juan and Tati are surviving, just very tired of us all being apart. I hope you received the thank you from Tati for all of the sweet gifts you blessed her with. Thank you so much. Yes, I did. And it touched my heart. Stay safe with these tropical storms and hurricanes. Stay healthy. God bless you both. Thank you so much for all that you are and all that you do for all of us. Love and prayers, Amy. P.S. I did receive your gift. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much it helps. Grateful always. I hear we will be starting some classes and the law library will be opening in October. We'll see. Can you imagine being in there? You don't even have access to the law library. And the law library has changed. It's not what most people think it is. It used to be books with, historical law stuff, but now it is on the computer. And the computers don't work half the time. There's hardly any computers. They're crappy computers. And it's not the amount of detailed information that the inmates need to see. Now, there is a letter here typed out very neat and tidy. I'm not sure about these pink sticky notes. I don't know if I should read this into YouTube or just scan it. What I'll do, I'll start reading it. I've never seen it before, and then decide whether or not you can just go ahead and read it on the Dropbox. Okay, it says, President Donald Trump, my brother David Martusiewicz, mother Lenore Martusiewicz, and myself were all convicted of conspiracy, there's that word, to commit interstate stalking and cyber stalking, along with cyber stalking, resulting in death of my brother's David's ex-wife, Christine Belford. My mother and brother were also convicted of interstate stalking, resulting in death as well, because they traveled with my father, Thomas Martusiewicz, to Delaware, New Jersey, to attend David's court hearing for a reduction in child support and to visit our family on the East Coast. My father, Thomas Martusiewicz, who suffered from a left frontal lobe melanoma of the brain tumor, shot and killed my ex-sister-in-law, Christine Belford, her friend, Laura Mulford, and then committed suicide at the Newcastle County Courthouse in Delaware on February 11th, 2013. That's 7 years ago as of reading this tonight. Since my father could not be convicted of the crime, they convicted my entire family and sentenced all of us to life in prison. My mother has since passed away in prison from brain tumors due to deliberate indifference of the medical staff. David and Christine went through child custody proceedings and divorce back in 2006-07. In 2007, David and my mother, Lenore, left the country with his 3 children to keep them safe from an abusive mother. He pled guilty to international parental kidnapping, and my mother pled guilty to endangering the welfare of a child. My family was involved with a national organization, Unite for Justice, with CEO Doug Miller, who recommended that we get our story out there on the internet to the public, asking for help to properly evaluate my nieces and Christine, because we believed that Christine was physically abusive and sexually abusing my nieces, properly evaluate Christine for her mental health issues, and to also get David's parental rights restored since they were terminated due to his felony conviction of international parental kidnapping of the children, which happened in 2007. I put a video that was legally obtained by a private investigator hired by David's lawyer during the custody proceedings back in 2006 on YouTube in 2011 to show my ex-sister-in-law dragging my autistic niece by the arm across the gravel road 7 times. I also put out a polygraph that my mother and I both took and passed on the internet, asking for help for these children. David was trying to consult with lawyers and legal advocates to try to get his conviction for international parental kidnapping overturned, to get his parental rights reinstated, and to try to get his optometric license back so he could practice in the field he loved. The government's theory is that my family was harassing and stalking Christine and that we caused her death. What we were trying to do with only love and good intentions to protect the children, the government turned into something criminal in nature. The courts, judge, DYFS, etc. weren't listening to our pleas for help because they believed that we made up false allegations against Christine to use as an excuse for David leaving the country with his children to protect them, since we only reported our suspicions to some friends prior to them leaving instead of the authorities. We took our case to trial after all pleading not guilty. We were convicted by a jury trial by the government's theory of the case on July 10, 2015. Our direct appeal was denied. Our petition for rehearing en banc was denied. Our Supreme Court petition hearing was denied on June 17, 2019. We are currently in the process of trying to find pro bono attorneys to help us with 2255 motions. My lawyer finally sent me a trial transcript in October 2019 after I have been asking for them since July 2015, so it looks like it took her 4 years. My brother's lawyer and my lawyer never told us that our appeals were all denied. We found out from third parties. Our 2255 motions are supposed to be due June 17, 2020, but we are trying to see if we can be granted equitable tolling due to ineffective assistance with obtaining transcripts and non-disclosure of the denial of our appeal. I have evidence of all of this. Please let me know if you can help us with these 2255 motions to challenge our convictions and sentences. Our case is precedential and is the first in the nation with issues of first impression. So they are trying to make an example out of my family. It's all very political. They had an honorary ceremony for all that were involved in our prosecution in 2019 after the Supreme Court denied our writ of certiorari. We are also wanting to speak with media, but our lawyers always told us not to speak with any media until after the appeals process has been completed. I have put off the media, but I am more than willing to speak out so that the public will be educated regarding this statute and how innocent people can very easily be imprisoned if this conviction does not get overturned. This is a case of guilt by association. And then she gives our website. Please, it's eurojubilee.com/Amy. Please let me know if you can help us, or at the very least recommend someone that can. Respectfully, Amy Gonzalez, wife, mother, and RN of 28 years. So that's the letter that she wants to go out. And what does it say up here on the sticky note? Joe Biden's son, Beau Biden, was the Attorney General of Delaware that pushed to have our entire family incarcerated for this crime. The amicus certiorari brief to the Supreme Court in support of our conviction is in honor of the Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children. This first letter was written by my brother David Martusiewicz, the father that just wants to be allowed to love his kids again. We have been blessed to have a paralegal help us prepare and file a timely 2255 motion with the courts, but we need your help to make a change. Thank you. Mamma mia. Okay, that's the one to President Trump. Let's see what this is. It says, stop loving your children. I guess this is the letter that she's talking that her brother wrote. This is essentially what I have been ordered to do by the courts. The daughters I have loved since before they were born are no longer legally mine to care and provide for. How does a loving father and eye doctor who was raised to care for others reconcile this commandment? Think about this for a moment. Due to some stress-induced poor decisions on my part, my ex-wife Christine has complete legal control over my access to our children. How could it possibly make sense to harm the only one who could grant my life's only wish to spend time with my children, to hear their laughter, and to provide for their upbringing? I am still stunned by how easily the prosecution in our case could spin my attempts to gain access to my children into a stalking charge. I am, of course, cognizant of the fact that lawyers spend years of their lives learning to present their theories to a jury in the best possible light so as to obtain a win. But what if their entire theory is wrong? One of my favorite authors once wrote, "I hate law school because it really teaches you to use facts, quote, facts, to convince people of your version of the truth, which may not really be the truth. In medicine, at least, a live man is alive and a corpse is dead. In law school, they'd have a mock trial and let the jury decide." In that ours was the first case of cyberstalking ever prosecuted in the state of Delaware and one of the first of its kind in the nation, how could our defense team have been prepared? I listened, still in shock, at my father's actions as the government prosecutor's theory was recited to the jury, their heads nodding assent. Many of my father's actions, of which the rest of my family had no foreknowledge, were attributed to all of us in the prosecution's well-rehearsed presentation. Many of my statements made in private emails to friends and family members, including Bible verses, were taken out of context to prove the prosecution's version of the truth. I can't tell you how many times our defense counsel told us that the prosecutors were frustrated that they could not find a single threat against Christine. Wow, that's because we never made any. Do you need proof that there is more to this story? Just Google search Thomas Matusiewicz and frontal lobe brain tumor. See how much is published regarding the fact that my father, who suffered from a brain tumor confirmed at his autopsy, had to have been thinking unclearly when he committed his acts of violence in the courthouse that February. There is no such thing as a benign brain tumor. No matter how we characterize a tumor in medicine, the mere presence of a tumor in your skull has psychological consequences. Who, thinking clearly and rationally, puts a gun to his head and pulls the trigger? Other than a 2-sentence stipulation mid-trial after weeks of sitting through testimony, the majority of which pointed to the innocence of my mother, my sister, and myself, our jury never got to hear evidence or expert testimony about how these tumors can affect the thought process of their victims. One needs only research frontal lobe brain tumors suffered by someone with this type of brain abnormality. Why wasn't this a central issue at trial? And let's discuss discovery evidence for a moment. Another part of our story never mentioned at trial or in the media was that during the evidence gathering portion of our trial, I learned that my ex-wife was continuing the behaviors that drove me to leave Delaware with my children in the first place. Namely, my autistic child suffered a near-fatal overdose of whatever medication Christine was giving her to induce her to sleep at night. I would never have known about this and other findings in my children's medical records had we never gone to trial. Were we cross-examined on the issues? This has gone out to anyone I could think of. Attending physician, wow. She gave her daughter chlorodyne, Prozac, and melatonin. Her stepfather gave her this dose and that dose, and this is his handwriting. It's a doctor's handwriting, so I can't really read it, but it's a whole bunch of medicine, and if you want to read what kind it is, you can look on the Dropbox, I guess. It's like chicken scratch. What? Oh my gosh, what's this part? I saw one word I could read. Whatever. That's gross. Okay, so go look at that. What events in life would drive you to leave a multi-million-dollar optometry practice and to flee the country? I loved everything about being an eye doctor, and by most accounts, I was good at it. I had planned to retire in the state of Delaware and to live out the rest of my life taking care of my family and my patients. My sister and I are completely innocent of these charges. Every action I took prior to February 2013 was aimed at reuniting my children and finding out how they were and how I could participate in their lives again. I had hoped to speak to Christine at the courthouse about reestablishing communication with our daughters. Clearly, she had no fear of meeting with me, or she could have participated in the court hearing by teleconference. We had been friends since 1993 and lived as man and wife since 2001. I had hoped that a face-to-face discussion would lead to healing between us. At trial, we were advised by our defense counsel not to take the witness stand in our own defense. Side note from me, how many times have we heard this? I think it's a bad idea, but what do I know? Quote, "We're going to tell your side of the story by the witnesses we'll bring to the stand," unquote, is what we were told. We were not to speak with the media. Quote, "Anything you say can and will be used against you," unquote. We were advised not to make any statements at sentencing. Now we have been sentenced for murder, having never been tried or convicted of murder charges. Do you want to know what's happening in the lives of your children? Do you want details about how they're being raised, the environment in which they live, and the people to which they are being exposed? Do you want to know if they are being abused? That's cyberstalking in the government's estimation, and you could spend the rest of your life in prison for it. Oh, there you go. We all knew it, didn't we? Carrying on. Approximately 4 weeks before trial, my lawyers met with me and brought a plea agreement from the prosecutors. They said that if I would sign an agreement regarding my knowledge of my father's plans, I would receive a 10 to 15-year sentence and would be released from custody in 8.5 to 12 years. They said it would save the government a lot of money if they did not have to pay for a trial. They told me that since a murder had been committed and the perpetrator was no longer alive to prosecute, the government would stop at nothing to see the rest of my family pay for my dad's crime. Of course I declined. How could I sign anything that said I had foreknowledge of my father's actions and did nothing to stop him? And what of my sister? She was in Texas, seeing patients as a nurse when all this happened in Delaware. How is it even remotely possible that she is culpable of my father's acts? No one has heard the truth in our case. The jury and public heard the government's theory, but never the truth. I pray daily that we will find someone with law training who will help us to present our side of the story to the courts. I still believe that there is a chance for us to participate in the lives of our children again. There is so much that they do not know about why their lives were uprooted so many years ago. Anything that you and your organization can do to help us is greatly appreciated. Thank you again for your efforts on behalf of my family. And there's another copy to Jared Kushner. The same one that was to the Donald Trump. And, oh yeah, okay, so, yeah. So there, I see this is a package, and there's 2 sets to go to Kushner and to... Interesting timing with the Biden thing. I wonder if it'll make it through. If there's any media out there that wants to learn more about what Biden's son did out there in Delaware to families and children, there you go. Look it up. Find out about it. Do your homework. Don't just keep repeating the Mockingbird media news. Find a story that's not parroted over and over and over again, and help 2 innocent people that are still behind bars. One's already died in prison. Thanks for tuning in. Please pray for them and write them letters. Good night. God bless the righteous, and God, please bring divine justice to the evil, wicked reprobates that are in the Bar Association. Thank you. Good night.